guys to another video about Dead by Daylight. My name is Cubeproductions. Today we're talking about Scar Merchant instead of playing her, as always. And in this video, it's a little different video. It's the first time I actually made a video like this, where I'm actually talking about the update that'll be coming out hopefully during the September PTB and maybe be released at the end of September, maybe the beginning of October. But it's the PTB coming out soon, and they just released the patch notes for the PTB, and I immediately knew I had to make a video about this. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoy the YouTube content and want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. So first things first, let's talk about the changes that are given to Scar Merchant coming up in this patch. Scar Merchant got 5 changes. The first change she got is they decreased the hinder penalty when scanned by a drone to 5% instead of 10%. This is perfectly fine because of the fact that I do admit that the drone scan penalty, the hinder penalty was really oppressive sometimes, and the fact that it can be looped over and over again and lasts for 6 seconds is kind of annoying because you have 6 seconds of 10% slowdown, which can be really, really annoying. But then they also completely removed the haste aspect that she gets whenever someone's scanned and on the radar. That is a really interesting change, and I'll explain more about how I feel about it once we get to the rest of the changes. But just notice how they said removed and didn't say added. They didn't add anything to it, just removed. But anyway, next change they did was they reduced the number of drone scan lines to 1. It was 2. This is also perfectly fine, and I had a feeling they were going to do this because when I was playing Dead by Daylight, and in my last videos, you actually can see it. Sometimes the scan lines will only appear, like 1 will appear instead of 2, and I was like, why? And I noticed, like, is this visible for the survivor, or the survivor only seeing 1 too? Because sometimes I'll be like, I know where the scan line should be, so I still move the drone in a certain position. I can't see the scan line, but the scan line is still technically there. So I do still get claw traps on people and still get, them shown on the radar. So because of that reason, I felt like they were going to change this in the future because there's no reason why this just randomly pop up like this. It had to be a reason why it was going to appear. So that's because of that reason I had a feeling they were going to do this. I'm fine with this because it doesn't really matter. It actually adds more skill expression to Skull Merchant because you can just move your drone with the radar. And as a result, you can use the one beam to your advantage and move the drone effectively to where it actually catches survivors. The only real problem with this is the fact that now survivors don't really have to even work as hard to try and dodge the drones. Because survivors that knew how to dodge the drones now don't have to work nearly as hard. The survivors that don't know how to do it now have a much better counterplay to Scrummage. Now the problem is, will they still counter her or will they leave the game first try? We'll find out in the future. Drone, but then they made 2 changes that are actually buffs. Kind of. The first one is drones are now always in active mode. This is a really good change because now instead of you having to wait for a survivor to actually activate your drone and turn it into active mode, it automatically gets in active mode. Now, this is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because automatically in active mode, but it's a bad thing because some people, especially like me, my favorite playstyle is to put traps ahead of time. Now, survivors can see the trap ahead of time and they can go, oh, there's a drone here, and then they can just not go there or disable it. Now, of course, the only issue with this is the fact that that only works if they can actually see the drone lines. But they made a 5th change where basically drone scan lines are now invisible beyond 16 meters. Really good change because now it actually lets you be able to put drones in certain situations and certain tiles, and survivors won't know the drone's actually there until they get towards it. Now, they did not fix one problem, which I've been talking about like in every video, where I talk about how survivors get scanned by drones, and it's always their fault, because in my head, I'm like, you can see the drone, you can hear the drone, and it shows a giant yellow line on the ground that tells you the distance, like the aura of the drone, and how far the drone can see you. I would really hope they get rid of that yellow line on the ground if they're gonna make the drone automatically in active mode. I know why they keep it. They keep it to showcase like how far the drone can scan you. But I kind of wish they would get rid of it just so that way it will make it harder for survivors to actually see the drone. But they're probably not gonna get rid of it, but I hope they do. But all in all, how do I feel about these changes? I actually really like these changes. The only change I do not like is the one where it gets rid of the haste. Now, it's not because it gets rid of the haste and I'm a brain dead Skull Merchant player who relies on hindered and haste to win. That's not why. It's because of the fact that they got rid of the haste but didn't give her anything else to compensate. Now I'm gonna throw some random add-ons, not really random, I'm gonna throw some add-ons on the screen. I want to talk about each one of them and explain to you why this no haste thing is kind of important to me, because I want to understand the thought process behind the devs as to what Scoreboard the player is supposed to do in certain situations. Because when you think about it, once someone becomes injured, all you really get is the ability, you have to claw trap them, and once you claw trap them, they die. But the problem is your drones don't do anything else besides claw trap survivors. So it's kind of like the devs now want you to claw trap even injured survivors just so you can slow them down and make the chase last even longer. When the whole point of the killer is to be a trap killer who makes the chase don't take as long and be a anti loop killer by purposely putting traps in certain locations. So now it feels like it's gonna take even longer to kill survivors because not only do they move faster when they're hindered, I also don't move faster when I'm chasing them. So I wonder how it's gonna work, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. Now, keep in mind, this video is all about speculation because I play on console, so I'm unable to actually play the PTB, but I can watch other people play it. So I wonder how they're going to change certain add-ons. And the first add-on I'm thinking about is expired batteries. What the add-on does, it basically increases the speed buff you would normally get from the people being on the radar, your haste, by 25%, but it also decreases the what's it called? How long your cloud traps last by 50%. So because of the fact that they're removing the haste from being scanned, what is this add-on going to do now? Now, the reason why I mentioned this is because of the fact that it's not listed at all on the patch notes, and if you look at the other killers, which I'll show near the end of the video, I'll show you all the other perks and killers that have been changed. They talk about how they made numerous add-ons, changes, or how some add-ons got changed. But notice how for Scrum Merchant, they didn't list anything. Now, they don't always list everything, and once you get on the PTB, you can see the changes, and also people are going to talk about how this add-on is literally useless, this add-on is literally broken, and they change stuff before they release the game fully. But I do wonder what they're gonna do because if you don't get haste anymore, what is the add-on gonna do? Is it just gonna be lower the trap cooldown? I meant the hard traps by 50% and that's it? Like, what are they gonna do exactly? But we'll have to see. The next add-on I want to talk about is actually called low power mode. Very simple add-on. Basically, your drones no longer spin anymore. Now, this is fine. I rarely use add-on. It actually has lots of use, but it's kind of hard to use because it just the whole point of Storm Merge is to be a trap killer. So when you put down your traps and it only looks in two directions and you can't move it at all, it kind of sucks. Now, because of the fact that you only get one scan line now, how does this add-on work? Do you just get one scan line and then the add-on does not, and you can't move it otherwise, and you have to be praying it points in the right direction? How does this work? Now, personally, I would change this add-on completely, and what I would do is I would do like this. Instead of your drones no longer rotating at all, what it does is when you try and rotate your drone, it actually locks the drone in place. That's what the add-on should do. Now, I think this is an excellent idea, a great idea. People in the comments, let me know you think it's a really good idea, but I think that's perfectly great idea. Your drone no longer moves. Once you try and move it, it will stand still. Then once you press a button again to move it, it continues moving in the same direction it was previously moving. So you can't change the rotation direction of your drone, but you can stop the drone and lock it in place. I think that's a really good idea for low power mode and how you should change it to make it better. Because like I said before, notice how there's no buffs or changes in this list. So behavior, if you're listening and watching this video, please listen to that really cool idea I have for this add-on. The next add-on I want to talk about is called Prototype Rotor. This add-on is actually fine. All it does is increase your drone speed turns by 10% or how fast your drone moves by 10%. That's fine. But one thing I will say is I really behavior, please listen. I really hope they make this perk add-on base kit. Or at least not really base kit. Actually, I wanted to increase the drone rotation speed by 20% in active mode and not the way it is right now. The reason why I want them to increase how fast the drone moves is because of the fact that if you're gonna if you're gonna remove one of your scan lines, the least they can do is increase how fast the drone rotates. And then I feel like I won't have to run Prototype Rotor in a lot of my games. I truly think that's a good change they could do. And I feel like it's healthy. I don't think it's really a problem. Like it adds skill expression to Scrum Merchant. It's a really easy change. You just buff the number. You're already getting rid one of the scan lines. You might as well increase the speed of the drone. Now, if you think in the comments not a good idea, let me know. But I truly believe that's a really good idea. So just let me know in the comments. Let's make Prototype Rotor base kit and increase the drone speed by 20% and also increase Prototype Rotor's drone speed by 20%. I think that would be a really good idea. So basically make the drone speed 80% automatically and then make the drone speed when you add Prototype Rotor be 20%. So basically it's going to be 100%. So it moves double the speed, but it only has one line. I think that's a fair change considering how you only have one line in general. Okay, this is an add-on called Loose Screw. I don't really use the add-on very much, but when I did use the add-on, I mainly used it because every single person in the universe was using the perk. made for this, and made for this with a perk that basically gave you a 3% increased speed if you were injured, but you also weren't exhausted. And what loose screw does is once you get claw trapped, you're exhausted for 3 seconds. So a lot, you're exhausted for I believe 6 seconds until your claw trap is removed. Now, in case you know how exhaustion works, exhaustion lasts forever as long as you're running. So technically, loose screw can last forever because of the fact that you're running. But personally, because of the fact that no one uses loose screw in general and it needs buffs, I think they do a change where as long as you have a claw trap on you, you're exhausted. Or at least it may get so it lasts for like at least 12 seconds or maybe 10 seconds. A simple change in numbers, and some people might be like, "That's too strong. 45 seconds of exhaustion is broken." But you have to understand, like the add-on is kind of useless, and I don't really think it needs to be that changed drastically to 45 seconds. I just watched a video where someone talked about how they think that it should last for the entirety of the cloud trap. And the reason why they said that was because every other add-on that does stuff like Oblivious, like Brown Noise Generator, or there's an add-on that makes it that way. I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's an add-on that makes it that way you're blinded for 45 seconds or however long you have a cloud trap on you for. That those add-ons last the entire time a cloud trap lasts. So why doesn't loose screw last? Probably because exhaustion is a really strong effect, but I think it should last the entire time or at least last like 12 seconds. Now there is a perk that I'll be showing later in the game, a little later on, that does a really cool effect. They changed it to make it have a whole different effect, and it works. And it might be really good with Score Merchant actually. I'm planning on making videos with it once the full update comes out on console. But I think they should buff loose screw. And the last add-on I want to talk about is an add-on that should be completely changed. And I have no idea how they're gonna do it, if they're even gonna change it. But in my opinion, that add-on needs to be completely changed. And that add-on is called High Current Upgrade. This add-on is completely useless. And I feel like you've never seen this add-on one time on a Score Merchant. I lied. I had made over 100 videos of me using Score Merchant, and I have used the add-on, I believe, twice. This add-on is very simple. It increases how long survivors are on the radar by 1 second. Count them 1 second. This add-on is useless. Now, the only reason why I used this add-on was first to showcase how bad it was, and also to showcase how it could be kind of useful for that 1 extra second of speed boost you get because the survivor is going to be on the radar for an extra second. So that means you get your haste buff for an extra second. But because they removed the haste in this update, this add-on literally has no use. And knowing behavior, they're going to probably keep it at 1 second, and that's it. At least like buff it to like 5, maybe even 8 seconds, anything. The fact that it only lasts for an additional second, you don't get a speed buff anymore from even being scanned on the radar. It's useless. Like it literally doesn't do anything. It was already her worst add-on because it's not useful at all. Even her other brown add-ons, besides of course, what's it called? Ultrasonic speaker. That one's got like, but besides that one, her other brown add-ons are so bad. Even high power floodlight, the one that makes it that way you're blinded for power alarm, the cloud traps on you. That add-on is not that useful either. But it still has a use. This one just has no use, and it furthermore has no use because you don't get haste anymore. So it really needs a whole rework and change. Of course, there's no changes on listed in the PTB on her add-ons. And that's the reason why I have this section in the video talking about her add-ons. If you think about any other add-on changes that Skull Merchant should get, please let me know in the comments, and I will definitely look at them because Skull Merchant needs some add-on changes drastically. Now, I'm gonna talk about the whole Skull Merchant update as a whole and give my thoughts on it. Okay, so decreased penalty to being scanned. Well, decreased hinder penalty is fine, perfectly fine. Reduced number of scan lines, fine. Makes me have to actually work harder when I use my radar to turn my drone. Simple. And if they implemented the low power mode add-on like I want them to do, then it's great. Drones always in active state, perfectly fine because of the fact that the drone lines are invisible when you're 60 meters away. That's perfectly fine. Thus, only thing I don't like about this update is the haste when you're carrying a survivor. And no, it's not because, like I said before, that I don't get a haste status effect boost while getting a hinder status effect on them, and that's the reason why I'm at. No. It's because of the fact that I don't really understand the point in really using Skull Merchant. Now, please let me know in the comments I'm just completely wrong. But like I said before at the beginning of the video, I just don't get it. Like you scan them 3 times when they're injured till you get a claw trap. They're claw trap, now they move 5% slower, and so you can try and down them. But that's it. But the thing is, if you don't claw trap them, then they just move at normal killer speed and your drones don't do anything. because when you're on the radar, you don't get a speed buff, so you can't chase them faster, but you still have to claw trap them just so they can move slower, so you can catch them. So I'm kind of confused on what exactly needs to be done and what exactly they want this killer to do. Um, I just don't really understand it. I feel like they should add something else to a score merchant that's not haste, but at least something good that can be given to her when a survivor is on radar. It doesn't have to be haste, it has to be something else. Now, I do have a few ideas as what they can do. The first change I would do is like this. So instead of getting a haste buff whenever a survivor is scanned by a drone, if y'all remember when Score Merchant first came out, where her power was a little different. Basically, whenever someone got into the active zone of a drone, they got the status effect of whatever add-on you're using. So if you were using Brown Noise Generator and you were playing Old School Merchant and a survivor ran into the active zone, they automatically got Oblivious because that's what the add-on did. Now what the add-on does is it makes so that way survivors are oblivious once they are claw trapped. What I think they should do now is instead of making it so that way survivors get the haste effect, instead of making it so that way the killer gets a haste effect when the survivor is scanned, I think what should happen is now whenever you scan survivors with your drones and they appear on the radar, whatever add-on that you have that will give them a status effect applies to them when they're scanned. And in case you don't know, when you're scanned by a drone, you appear on the radar for 12 seconds. So that means that now you automatically are going to get scanned by a drone and then you're oblivious for 12 seconds until you're gone. I think that's a fair trade because of the fact that you're not going to get a haste, so at least let her get the status effect on the survivor. Now, of course, the exhaustion one, when I mentioned the last section, how I said the exhaustion status effect should last 12 seconds or it should last a whole 45 seconds until the clock goes away, get rid of that. If you're going to do what I just said about making so that when a survivor gets scanned by a drone, the status effect that applies on them, they automatically uh get rid of that idea because I feel like that is too strong. Because that's not gonna really be useful in my opinion, but that's just me. The second idea I had, which is kind of a funny idea, it's probably not gonna happen honestly, but I feel like it'd be a really cool idea, is in case y'all know, when Squad Merchant first came out, her chase music was completely different than what it was before. Well, what it is now, I mean. During the chase music, there was this really intense siren drone noise that basically played. Basically, it was like the killer was saying, I scanned you, I know where you are, you're going to die. What they should do is, I feel like when you get scanned by a drone, a really, not a loud noise, but a drone noise kind of just happens like you're being scanned and it kind of deafens you. And the reason why I mentioned that is because only one killer in the entire game has the ability to deafen survivors, and that's literally Hag, and it took one add-on. And I feel like they should add that to the drone. Like you get scanned by a drone and that like sound starts playing and it starts deafening you, making it harder for you to realize what's happening around you and you become more susceptible to being down. Now, of course, that sounds like a lot of work to implement, and also it might be annoying because the whole reason why they changed Scrum Merchant's chase music in the first place is because survivors were complaining about how annoying it was. But I feel that's a really good idea. But that's just two ideas I have. I have a few more ideas, but I'm not going to talk about this anymore because I want to talk about more of the other perks. But you have any other ideas on how they should buff Scrum Merchant or changes you have? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, let's start with the changes that are happening actually in the update. So first things first, finishing Mori. Now, whenever the survivor is down, the final survivor, they automatically get to Mori them, and every single object in the area changes. Well, not changes, goes away because the Mori wants to show. It's really good for Storm Merchant because her Mori is really weird, and like the camera is awful when it comes to her Mori. So the fact that all the objects go away so you can fully see it is really good. Now, personally, I think it should update her Mori, but whatever. Also, Momentum Moris now give you extra bullet points when it comes to Moris. We have teamwork perks that are getting buffed. I'm just gonna speak across these other perks. If I think something really useful, I'll stop and analyze it. But some survivor perks that are gonna get buffed. I do like the corrective action buff actually in the inner focus one too. I like the fact that they're getting rid of a lot of the range on the add-ons and getting rid of a lot of the cooldown of the add-ons because I feel like the whole cooldown part was the main issue. Poise is one of my favorite add-ons that they ever made, but I felt like it was so bad. But I'm glad they're changing it. Blood Rush has so many changes. I'll let you read that because there's a lot going on. Blood Rush is a really weird perk, kind of hard to use, and it only worked when at the end when you're about to die. So the fact that they changed it makes it really good. Quick Gambit got a little bit of a change. That way, survivors don't get a huge repair speed buff, but it did have a no longer has a giant range. It may have a bigger range now. Distortion. I feel like this is the main perk that Strive gonna cry about because it got changed. But this perk needed changes. This perk was dumb. This perk got changed now. Basically, it no longer has tokens. Instead, it activates, and when it does activate, it lasts for 12 seconds instead of 10 seconds. But you don't get the perk back until you're chased. Basically, it is deactivates until you're chased for the first time. And it's really good because now killers can actually use their aura perks and feel strong. Not to mention, there's a lot of aura perks that are being changed in this update. So that means you're going to be able to use some aura perks that are going to get buffed. So you're going to buff genetic limits. This is the reason why I was talking about how I said they don't really need to buff Loose Screw because this perk got really, really big buff. But basically now it changes, and instead of it being whenever a survivor heals, they're exhausted. Now whenever they lose their health state, by any means, they're exhausted for 8 seconds. We have Leverage when a Scrum Version perks got buffed. Whenever a survivor gets unhooked, they're automatically going to be, well, every survivor on the map is going to automatically be having a healing penalty for 50% by 30 seconds. So basically, if a survivor gets unhooked and they try and heal under the hook, it's gonna take them 50% longer to do it. And any other survivor who's healing across the map will also get a 50% healing reduction, which is really strong. We have Thwop. Finally, I mentioned this many times in a video. I said this perk needs more tokens to be useful. They made it so that way now Thwack has 3 tokens automatically. Whenever you hook a survivor, you get another token. If you break a wall or a pallet, then every survivor within 24 meters of you automatically screams and shows their aura. Now, they didn't nerf it from 32 to 24 meters, but it's still amazing how you can use it more often. Machine learning got buffed, where basically now instead of you having to kick one gen once and then kick a different gen, you now can only kick one gen once and automatically activates. Deathbound no longer has a cooldown or a range limit. Zane's Tactics got a really weird rework. I don't really like it, honestly. I feel like they should keep the rework the way it is, but then also make it so that way you can see the aura of the pallet. Now the way it works is if a survivor is 6 meters near a drop pallet within 16 meters of you, you can see the aura of the survivor. Personally, I think it should just be this plus the aura of being able to see all windows and pallets, or at least like tone down this a little bit, but still keep the aura of being able to see pallets. I don't really like this update. I mean, that changed that much, but y'all can talk about it in the comments. We have Dead Man Switch, a very simple perk. Got completely buffed, in my opinion. Basically, what happens is the first time a survivor with a Sabi repairing a generator, once you hook a survivor, that gen is now blocked for 50 seconds. The nerf is it doesn't block for a long. It doesn't work on every gen, but it works for 50 seconds, and that's super strong. Blood Echo got a big buff. It no longer has a cooldown, but it only lasts for 30 seconds instead of 45 seconds, I believe. Hex Crowd Control now blocks 3, 4 to 5 vaults of the one survivor instead of 1. Predator got a big buff, but also it's not going to be that useful probably. But basically, if a survivor leaves your chase, you see the aura for 6 seconds. And because they nerfed Distortion, this perk is actually going to be useful because even though I don't really lose chase very often, but it's the fact that if you do lose chase and you're using Predator, because Distortion is no longer completely busted, you actually have the ability to use the perk, which is kind of useful. Of course, we saw Star Merchant. I already gave you my thoughts on that. Hillbilly gets some really interesting changes. Basically, his chainsaw speed, his overdrive speed, it takes longer to get overdrive. Overdrive doesn't last nearly as long. And overdrive, what's it called? Charges while revving. You basically lose overdrive faster, I believe, and also your cooldown for missing a chainsaw attack is now even longer. Which is kind of interesting because Hillbilly's been really, really good right now. So the fact that they're changing him and it's basically just all nerfs is kind of interesting. The twins got 2 changes. They're both nerfs, sadly. Increases Victor cooldown when he's crushed to 20 seconds from 15. And also Victor, when he down his survivor, it now takes 3.2 seconds to switch back instead of 2.7, I believe. So it's kind of big. It's kind of a small nerf, but the twins are still going to be really, really good because the twins have always been good. And Unknown got some unnecessary nerfs, by the way, but okay. Basically, they added a new HUD where you can see the teleport cooldown, hallucination spawn time, really, really good. But then they made it so that way his movement speed decreases sooner when charging his power, which I feel like wasn't necessary because he was already a great killer. But personally, that's just me. Then they increased how fast it takes to teleport by 15%, which is amazing because he already had an add-on that increased that. And they made some other changes to him that are really, really good. But of course, if y'all want to read these patch notes, just rewatch the video or look at them at your own time because there's a lot of stuff going on. The fact that it said 20 perk updates when I first read it, I was like, wow. But anyway, that was the video. Like I said before, if you have anything you want to comment, let me know in the comment. I read every single comment and always respond. If you have any ideas on how I should change Skull Merchant 2, let me know. I will probably make future videos about the PTB, even though I don't have the ability to play it. But I still do want to showcase the PTB content because I really like Skull Merchant and the ability to be like, oh, I feel included because I can actually watch someone else play the game. It's really good. Also, you play the PTB in the next 3 weeks and you have anything you want to talk about, let me know in the comments of my future videos and I'll definitely respond to them. But anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next video. Have a nice day.